Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So in today's tutorial I'm going to be making this Bubu dress with Asoke. Okay, so the fabric I'm working with is Mikado fabric. Okay, and I have 2 years of Mikado fabric here and my Asoke. So I have two length of Asoke. So I'm going to start working on our fabric immediately. So I'm going to be folding this into two because it's going to be a cut together dress. Okay, I'm going to be folding it into four, sorry, not into two, into four. Okay, so I went on to fold it into four. Do you see what we have here? Okay, so and I also went on to do my starting line here, as you can see. Okay, so I'm just going to get the rest of the lines that I'm working with. So I'm going to measure from this starting line, which will serve as my shoulder line. I'm going to measure my waistline. Okay, so here is my waistline. I'm just going to mark on it. Then from my shoulder to my hip, I am going to mark on it as well. Okay, then I also mark from my shoulder to my knee, and I'm going to be connecting the lines with my ruler. Okay, I'll also measure my length. I'm going to get my length, and I will make this line very visible and straight with my ruler. Do you get? So after which I will proceed to labeling them accordingly. All right, so I want you to stay tuned to the end of this tutorial, guys. So I was done doing that. I label all the lines, and without wasting time, I'm going to divide my shoulder measurement by 2. I'm just going to rule the line. Then I'm going to get my sleeve length. Remember I said this is cut together. So from here, I'm going to measure my sleeve length. So I'm working with sleeve length of 9 inches. Remember, I'm going to add Asoke to it. Okay, so for now I'm marking on 9 inches here. Okay, that is what I'm working with. From this point now, I'm going to measure 1 inch. Ordinarily I'm supposed to measure 1.5, but we are working on main fabric and we need joining allowance. Okay, so the remaining 0.5 inches will be for joining allowance. So I'll get my neck width of 3 inches, and I'm just going to connect from this point now to this shoulder slope. So I was not connecting, as you can see. Can you see the connection I made around there? So from here now, I'm going to measure the wideness of my sleeve. So my sleeve is not going to be very fitted, it's going to be very free. So I'm making use of 10.5 inches, and I went on to mark. Then I'll measure 1.5 inches for my allowance. Okay, so can you see the two lines? And the next thing I'm going to do is to get my neck depth for the back. Remember, we are cutting both the front and the back, and we are going to get the back one first. I'm using 2 inches for my neck depth, and I'll just proceed to connect with my curved ruler this way. So can you see what we have? So the next thing I'm going to do is to rule a straight line around here. I'm just going to measure my bust circumference divided by 4. I'm going to mark there. Okay, so I'm going to be adding 3 inches. Okay, 3 inches. So this 3 inches for my allowance and also my overlocking. Remember, I'm going to overlock this since it doesn't have lining, so that is the reason for this allowance. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to just connect on that point in a curved shape. If you take a good look at the style we have on the thumbnail, you'll find out that it has, as in mine has this shape, as in I want it to have this shape. Okay, the style we have on the thumbnail is, it seems straight. Okay, it looks straight, but I want mine to be this line. So I'm just going to come up from the knee line, and I am going to be connecting this way. I'm just going to connect from here and down here. Okay, So I came up by around 5 inches from my knee line. That is actually what I marked there. Okay, and connected. So the next thing I'm going to do is to mark my hip circumference divided by 4, and I'm going to be adding extra allowance to it. So I am actually making this marking on my knee line right now, and I'm connecting towards this line that I mark, okay, which is about 6 inches below my hip line. Do you get? So I'm just going to drag it up here so that you can see what I'm doing. Can you see? So on this knee line I added up 3 inches allowance. So I measured what I have on this my knee line, and exactly what I have is what I'm going to impute on my hemline. Do you get? So whatever you impute on your knee line, go ahead and impute it on your knee line. If you want yours to have similar shape like mine, but if you want it to be a straight dress, if you just want it to be straight down, it's also nice, it's also okay. Okay, so I made a curve, a little curve around here, okay, so that we don't have sharp edges. Remember, our armhole is curving, not sharp. Okay, so I'm just trying to arrange this shoulder line, and I'll grab my pin and pin it down because it seems the fabrics are not staying in place. Okay, so I proceeded to gum it down, and I'll drag the inner side and arrange it, and we'll proceed. So I went on to arrange it, as you can see, and now it is more stable. So the next thing I'm going to do is to measure what I have here, and just going to mark it here, and I'll connect with my ruler because I want to have a very straight line there when I am cutting. Okay, I don't want anything that will ruin my style, so I have to impute appropriate measurements. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to cut out, and after cutting out I'm going to remove the inner one, and we're going to work on the front part. Okay, so I'm just going to cut out the back neckline, the shoulder slope, and the side as well. So can you see what we have? So I'll just remove the inside one, and I'm going to be working on the outside one, which will serve as our front part. Okay, so I went on to remove it, and I arranged it back. Do you see? So this will serve as our front part. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do here is to determine how deep I want the front neckline to be. I'm marking on the depth of my front neckline, and I want it to be as deep as 8 inches. So you can make yours 7.5, 8 inches, 8.5, or even 9. It all depends on how big and tall your client is. So I proceeded to measure 1 inch above my waistline. Okay, I measured 1 inch above my waistline. All right, because that is where I want my Asoke neck to stop. I want my Asoke to stop. So next I'm going to proceed to connect this front neckline in a V shape. Okay, if you watch the style, it look like V. Okay, though we're not going to be a kind of cutting it exactly V like that on our main fabric. So I measured 2 inches here because I want the wideness of my Asoke on the dress to be 4 inches. So 2 inches on fold. So I'll just place my ruler this way, and I'm going to connect down to the new 2 inches I marked here. Can you see? Can you see what I marked here? So the next thing I'm going to do is to cut out. Well, before I do that, I'm going to measure 0.5 inches. Okay, I'm just going to measure 0.5 inches round, and that will serve as our joining allowance. Do you get? So please, I'm so sorry if you're not seeing this chalk on the fabric very well. Please bear with me dear. So I'll proceed to cut out straight down to the 1 inch above my waistline that I mark. Okay, so we're going to be joining the back and the front shoulder first before we cut out this on our Asoke fabric. So I'll proceed to join the front and the waist. I will open, iron it, and I'll show you what we have. So I was done joining and I went on to open iron it. You see? So do you see what we have? Okay, so next I'm going to notch on the midpoint of the back, after which I will grab our Asoke to cut our neckline. Okay, so you remember the neckline that we remove. Okay, we are going to be replacing it with our Asoke fabric. So like I said earlier, I told you earlier, I have two strips of Asoke fabric, and I'm going to be working on this one. So remember this that we cut out. I'm just going to measure that point where we mark our 8 inches neck depth for the front. Do you see? The marking is even still there. So I'm just going to measure from this neck area to that marking. Okay, so we have 9 inches because I placed my tape in a curvy way. That's why it is giving me 9 inches. Okay, so now I am going to measure from this back here. Okay, from this back here I'm going to be measuring okay, I went on to pin it down first, and I'm going to be measuring that particular point where we mark. Remember, I also transferred the mark on this main fabric. Can you see the mark here? You see it? So I'm just going to be measuring from this neckline for the back down to this 9 inches, the neck depth that I marked earlier when we were drafting this dress. Okay, so I will measure and stop at that point where I made that mark. Okay, see what I have? Can you see what I have there? So the next thing that I'm going to be doing is to get my Asoke fabric. Okay, but before I do that, I'm going to measure from this point as well again to the center part of my back neck. Okay, it is very important because the length we have here will determine the length of our Asoke right now. So I'm just going to measure, and whatever I get, I will let you know. Can you see? 19.5 is what I have there. Okay, so it definitely means that the length of this our Asoke is going to be 19.5. all right, so I'm just going to fold into 2 here. Remember, when I was measuring my main fabric, I folded into 2. So I'll proceed to measure 19.5 inches. So you can see I have extra here for allowance. I'll just mark there, and I have around 2.25 for allowance, and that is not bad at all because you need joining allowance. So I'm trying to play safe. I just want to be on the safe side. That is why I left as much as 2 inches allowance. Okay, so next I'm going to measure from this point and get our neckline. Okay, do you see where I mark? It is our back neckline and our front neckline together. So I proceeded to cut out. Do you get? And I want the wideness of this place to be 4 inches. Remember, I measured 2 inches on the neck. I cut on 2 inches on fold, which is 4 inches. Now I'm going to be subtracting what is remaining. I'll measure 5 inches, and whatever is remaining, I'm going to be cutting it out. That 5 inches being that we're going to be joining this Asoke with 0.5 on both sides. making it 1 inch. So when we join, we will have our 4 inches back. Okay, so now I'm going to just trim off this excess here because I don't want it to be more than the 2 inches we measured on fold earlier. So after trimming off this part, I will have my 5 inches, which is my normal length of width of my Asoke, and my joining allowance of 1 inch. Okay, do you get? So I'm just going to fold it into two back, and remember the line I have already marked. We are going to start working on the line. So from this line now, I'm just going to sew down this way. Okay, I'm just going to sew this one on the midpoint. So I'm just going to mark on the midpoint first. You see what we have here? 13 inches. So I'm just going to mark on this midpoint from that 13 inches down. Okay, so I'll measure what we have and divide my tape into two, and I'll get the midpoint accurately. I'll mark it down to the hem. Did you see? So now I'm going to sew. So I went on to sew from this point now down. That is where I sew. From this point down, that is where I sew. So I'm just going to open it up like this. Pick one from here and one from the other side this way, and I'll open it up. Do you see what we have? Do you get? So I hope what I'm explaining is very clear to us, right? So I'm trying to arrange it. Can you see that our neckline is forming already? Can you see it? Can you see what we have here? It's looking very fine though, honestly. Okay, so this is what we have. Can you see? And next thing I'm going to do is to bring in my main fabric. Okay, so here is my main fabric, and I went on to remove some pin around it. So what I'm going to do is to determine which side I'm going to be using, whether front or back, and I'm going to place a notch on the midpoint of the back neckline. Do you see the notch here? So remember the back neckline of the main fabric already have a notch. So after determining which part I want to use for the front, for the right side, I'm going to be placing it right side facing right side, and notched part facing notched part. Do you see the way I did it? And I'm just going to join both sides, join the right of the Asoke, the main fabric, and the left. So I was done joining, as you can see. And remember, I joined with 0.5 inches because that was exactly the allowance I added. Can you see it? Can you see? So we're going to be overlocking those rough edges. Can you see? Can you see the extra 2 inches I joined? I allocated, sorry. So this is what we have now. Can you see? So the next thing I'm going to do is to mark at this point, okay, where the joining ends. I'll just mark here this way as well, and I'm just going to pick up my ruler to slit through it this way, a little, very little, very little slit. That's what I'm going to do there. As in, the slit is not going to be too long, it's just going to stop towards where that stitch there stop. Do you see? You just stop where that stitch stop. So I'm just going to slit through there. Can you see? Can you see it? So I'll do the same thing on this second part as well, and I'll slit. Then I'll be careful not to slit that joining stitches there. So I'll turn it inside out this way. I'll turn it to the right side, and next thing I'm going to do is to tuck it into the long side as well. Okay, I'll tuck it into the left side and to the inside as well. Do you see it? So next I'm going to open it up here like this. Can you see the way I open it up? And I'm going to run a straight stitch here, just a straight stitch. I'll run it here, and I'll bring it back for us to see. So I was done stitching, and this is what we have. So let me open it and show us what we did. Can you see the straight stitch here? Let me turn it. Can you see it? Just a straight stitch to hold the Asoke and that small fabric down. Can you see? Can you see? And I'll trim off the excesses around. So I'll just turn it inside. Can you see it? So the next thing I'm going to do is to attach Asoke on my dress. So initially I wanted to fold it into here, but I recall I'm going to use the other one for my hairband. So I'll just divide it into two and fix one on the other side and one. I'm going to use this one for hairband. Okay, so I'll just fix it or join the part where I'm having shortage, and I'll bring it back for us to see. So I went on to do that. I'm just trying to trim off excesses around here, and can you see how it's looking? Okay, so don't worry about how the inside looking. We are going to overlock every part of the rough sides. So the next thing I'm going to do is to join the side. I'm going to do that and bring it back for us to see. So I will join the side, leaving just where I am going to have a slit on the side. Can you see this hand as well? Can you see? So I went on to join. Can you see it? Can you see our Asoke sleeve? It's looking like two different Asoke on the hem, on the sleeve, sorry. And I left 15 inches above the hem, okay, open on the side. That is because I want it to have side opening. Can you see? Can you see what we have here? And I did the same thing on the other side. So let me measure it. Can you see? It's 15 inches. That is what I left here for my opening. So go ahead and measure what you want for your opening, and that is it. So can you see the beautiful look of our neckline? This is very simple but classic. Okay, so this is the end of it. I didn't put any pockets. There was no pocket to it. So I went on to add this beautiful design on the hem, and this is me rocking it. Thank you so much for watching. Go ahead and subscribe if you have not done so. Like the video and comment. See you next time. Bye.